Welcome to Shanmugam IAS Academy. Editorial analysis of 31st January 2022. Here, what we are going to see today in the editorial form is in conjunction on evolution of democratic society. Majorly, this comes under the UPSC mains under polity section and UPSC prelims also is very important. And here, what we are going to combine and see the major differences between the fundamental rights, the fundamental duties, and the directive principles of state policy. And in the constitution, the fundamental rights comes under the part 3 and part 4 is the directive principles of state policy and are the fundamental duties. Why we are going to study these things exactly here, why we are studying this in the form of editorial today, I am going to explain to you here. So we'll move into the concept here, into the editorial now. The evolution of a democratic society is centered around the expansion of rights, the civil, political, economic and cultural rights which are leading to the empowerment of the people, because these rights, what I have told you, the fundamental rights which guarantees not only guarantees the rights of the people but also the empowers citizens of the country. How exactly is that we are going to study now? We all know what are the fundamental rights exact, first of all, because without basics we can't move into this editorial here. First we need to know what exactly the fundamental rights are. The fundamental rights are the rights and freedoms which are guaranteed by the constitution of the countries of the world to their citizens. This is what we all know. But apart from that, the primarily what is the major difference between the fundamental rights and the fundamental duties is that this we need to know, because the fundamental rights is based on privilege guaranteed to you, the privileges, the legalities which are guaranteed to you in the constitution, whereas the fundamental duties is based on the accountability, what you needs to do, what a country asks you to do. These are all the accountable status which is given to the fundamental duties. This is what the exact difference between the fundamental rights and the duties. And the democratic nations respect individual and group of rights for moral and instrumental reasons, and most of the democratic nations will respect the individual rights and group rights. And in other thing, the rights, the fundamental rights and the fundamental duties both complement each other, just as the responsibility which comes with the freedom, because these duties and the rights both complements each other. And we will study now what are the relationship between the fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties here. So directive principles have been used to uphold the constitutional validity of the legislation in case of the conflict with the fundamental rights. And what exactly the directive, we studied about the differences of these fundamental rights and the duties. We need to know how we can differentiate. This is part 4 of the constitution, the directive principles of state policies, what exactly they say in the constitution. So these aim to create the social and economic conditions which under the citizens can lead a good life, and also they aim to establish the social and economic democracy through a welfare state. This is what the aim of the directive principles of state policy. So now we will move into this. So amending, according to the amendment of 1971, any law that even though it deviates from the fundamental rights but has been made to give effect to the directive principles in article 39b class C would not be deemed invalid. So this is what is said under the article 39b and C, and the amendment has been made, but even though it deviates from the fundamental right, that is what they are saying here, the fundamental duties will be obligatory here for all the citizens which are subject to the state enforcing the same by the means of the validity of the law. And how exactly the enforcement of the fundamental duties in India has been done. The fundamental duties are the duties that the citizen himself has to take care of. Court cannot enforce these duties. So these are the duties where the citizen of the country himself has to take care of these duties. The court cannot enforce these duties, and no writ can be issued in regard to the under fulfillment or the over fulfillment of the fundamental duties. So writ petitions can be there for the fundamental rights under the article 32. So we can directly go to the High Court and the Supreme Court, but writs cannot be issued. Cannot be issued for the fundamental duties. This we all know, but if you are someone who are not knowing, you can learn from this, and this can be a prelims question for you. But this is very basic things. Everyone knows this thing. And however, in regard to the environmental contribution, the Supreme Court holds the central government which is responsible and expects it to take a number of steps to make it effective. So the Supreme Court said to the government which is responsible and expect the government to take number of steps and make these duties which are more effective. And the dichotomy between the rights and the duties, what are the exact dichotomies between them? Actually, the beloved Prime Minister of the country has suggested a dichotomy between the rights and the duties of the citizens when he said last week that the country has wasted a lot of time which is fighting for rights and neglecting one's duties. This is what he told. So that is why we are studying. These are all the old past things, concepts we all studied. Why exactly we are studying this as in the editorial form? Because the Prime Minister of the beloved country has said that is these rights and duties of the citizens has wasted a lot of time between fighting for the rights and neglecting one's own duties. So that is what he said. We are fighting for our rights, but in the same way, simultaneously, we are neglecting the one's duties which are prescribed in the constitution. This is what he said. And his speech was not the first time that he had made, but the services, and he also said that the services and the sacrifices which are of nameless and the faceless nation builders have formed the bedrock of the modern Indian Republic. But their sacrifices were indeed for the rights, dignity and the autonomy. That is what he is saying. This is the sacrifices which are made for the country, which are for the indeed for the rights and dignity and the autonomy. For this only the sacrifices were made. The Indian Constitution enshrines the equality and freedom as the fundamental rights, along with the right against the exploitation, freedom of religion, culture and educational rights, and the right to constitutional remedies. These are all the fundamental rights which are enshrined, which are guaranteed in the constitution under part 3 of the constitution. The deepening of Indian democracy has led to an expansion of rights, because these were at the starting of the when constitution was made, when deepening of the Indian democracy has led to expansion of these rights too. That is education, the right to education, that is 21A, and the information and privacy etc. that are now legally guaranteed rights. These rights are earlier are not there when it was originally in the constitution, but after when we are deepening the Indian democracy, the other fundamental rights have also been included which are legally guaranteed now. What are they? The education, information and the privacy etc. which are now being legally guaranteed rights. So citizens are generally duty bound to protect the integrity and the sovereignty of the country, and this is true for India, though there is no conscription. There is no guarantee on you, but the citizen is true for India, that is the citizen bound to protect the integrity and the sovereignty of the country, and enlightened citizenry and critical progress to good governance. How this can be made possible in the good governance is in this way. Any shift in state policy emphasis from rights to duties will be absurd here. Disservice to many for whom the realization of the fundamental rights is still a work in the progress. The obligation of Indian citizens to the collective pursuit of a nation can be meaningful, but when these rights have been guaranteed by the state, and the Prime Minister's comments come against this backdrop. Which backdrop? The citizen has a right to use a public road and a duty to obey the traffic rules too. And the right and the duty are meaningful only in conjunction. This is what here in this editorial exactly what we are relating. It is the right to use the public road and duty to obey the traffic rules. Both the right and the duties are meaningful when they are only in conjunction. So this is what the comments which are given by the Prime Ministers in this backdrop. The emphasis on the duty along with the de-emphasis of rights also raises the specter of the dissent in pre-republican norms. And what are the way ahead steps we can take? That is, without the moral compass of the rights as enshrined in the India's constitutional charter and any language which is emphasizing the role of the duties, one will consequently be harmful or would fail to protect the interest. There are the essential duties that citizens have under cognizance of paying taxes. Some of the essential duties such as, for example, the paying taxes and fines, following laws and not committing violence against others, and so on. And they are also part of the citizens that is termed as duties. But citizens can only commit to these duties when their basic rights are reciprocally safeguarded. So these duties can only be done when the rights of the citizens are reciprocally safeguarded and protected. So this is what exactly defining, exactly relating here the fundamental duties and the rights according to the context, the text which is given by our Prime Minister. And in conclusion, here we can say the rights and the duties are the two sides of the same coin. Given one more weight or importance over the other, or pitting one side against the other, reflects badly on the moral significance of the both. And fundamental rights and fundamental duties both constitute one of the most important texts of the Constitution, and they tell us about the rights that we can access. It also put forth the moral duties of a citizen. Both things are saying here. The rights that we can access, that is one part, and other thing is it's also put forth the moral duties of a citizen. And the Constitution grants us with one thing. This is important. While ending an answer, it also expects to this editorial, it also expects something from the countrymen. It becomes vital for the citizen. He needs to, this is important, it becomes a vital for a citizen of a country to be aware of his rights and duties that he can exercise in the court of law. So finally what we are saying, the rights are legal, social and ethical. The principles of freedom that people are entitled by a governing body, where the duties are the responsibilities and obligations of an individual. This we need to understand exact between the rights and the duties and the DPSPs too. So here I have taught you, I have told you about what is the exact difference between the rights, fundamental rights and the duties, and the DPSPs, how we are differentiating between them and in which parts it is coming under the Constitution, and what exactly the relating, the major differences between them, how important they are, which are enshrined in the Constitution, we have studied here. So if you have any doubts, just tell us in the comment sections, and thank you so much for watching this video.